The year is 2053. 28 years have passed since the rage. London, once a teeming metropolis, now stood silent. A concrete graveyard. Buildings clawed at the sky, empty sockets for windows. Wind whispered through shattered panes, a mournful dirge. Rust and decay were the new architects. Nature, relentless and patient, crept back. Ivy scaled walls. Grass pushed through cracked pavement. The old world was a fading photograph, its vibrant colors leached by time and tragedy. Only ghosts walked these streets now. Survivors huddled in fortified enclaves. Walls of scrap metal and salvaged stone held the darkness at bay, or so they hoped. Paranoia was the currency. Every stranger was a potential threat. Every shadow hid a lurking fear. Trust was a forgotten luxury. Communities were tight-knit, suspicious of outsiders. They clung to routine, to order, to anything that offered a semblance of control. Resources were scarce. Life was a daily struggle for the basics. Food, water, ammunition. Hope was rationed carefully. A new generation had been born into this ruin. They were children of the aftermath. They had never known the world before. No bustling cities, no easy laughter, no endless blue skies unmarred by smoke. Their lullabies were the sounds of the watch, the click of a rifle bolt. Their playgrounds were the rubble fields. They learned survival before they learned history. The past was a collection of fragmented stories, whispered by weary elders, a myth of a lost golden age. The psychological scars ran deep, deeper than any physical wound. Loss was a constant companion. Everyone had lost someone, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters. The virus had taken them, or the chaos that followed. Fear was a persistent hum beneath the surface of daily life. It shaped their thoughts, their actions. Some clung to faith, others to pragmatism. All were haunted. The world was broken. And perhaps so were they. Humanity was a shadow of its former self. Then a signal. Faint, almost imperceptible. It pulsed from the heart of what was once designated a dead zone, an area believed to be utterly devoid of life, or at least human life. The scientific outpost picked it up. Analysts puzzled over its origin, its meaning. Could it be a mistake? Interference? Or something else? Something impossible. The elders scoffed. The dead zones were dead. They had been for decades, but the signal persisted. A stubborn, rhythmic beacon in the silence. A mission was sanctioned, a team assembled. Soldiers, their faces grim, their eyes hard. They were veterans of countless skirmishes, border patrols, and salvage runs. Scientists, their hope worn thin but not extinguished. They carried instruments and a desperate curiosity. This was a long shot. A fool's errand, some whispered. But the potential, however slim, could not be ignored. Any sign of organized activity, any clue to a different outcome, had to be investigated. The risk was monumental. The alternative was slow decay. Among them was Ava Freeman, a biologist, sharp, driven. The outbreak had claimed her mother, a medic overwhelmed in the first chaotic wave. Ava carried that loss like a hidden stone. It fueled her work, her determination. She needed answers, not just for herself, but for what remained of humanity. The dead zone held a morbid fascination for her, a place where the virus had reigned supreme. She volunteered without hesitation. This was more than a mission. It was a pilgrimage. The journey into the dead zone was grim. The landscape grew more desolate with every mile. Twisted metal, charred husks of vehicles, an oppressive silence, broken only by the crunch of their boots on debris. The air felt heavy, tainted. Every sense was on high alert. The soldiers moved with practiced caution, weapons ready, eyes scanning the ruins. The scientists monitored their equipment, their faces etched with a mixture of trepidation and resolve. They were entering the heart of the old nightmare. They found the source of the signal, not a forgotten automated beacon, not a natural phenomenon. It was a crude transmitter, jury-rigged but functional, guarded. The signs of recent human activity were unmistakable. Fresh tracks, discarded supplies. A cold dread began to settle over Ava and the team. This was not what they had expected. This was not a relic of the past. It was something new, something active. The air thrummed with an unspoken menace, a warning. The true horror revealed itself slowly. First in the lab notes they discovered, scrawled frantic observations, then in the tissue samples. The virus was still here, but it had changed, mutated. It was faster now. Its incubation period drastically reduced, its vectors of transmission more insidious. It seemed almost intelligent, as if it had learned from its initial onslaught, adapted, evolved. The scientists exchanged horrified glances. This was beyond their worst fears. A biological nightmare, reborn and refined. Then came the final, sickening revelation. The virus was not just a resurgent natural threat. It was being cultivated, weaponized. A rogue faction of survivors, hidden deep within the dead zone, had harnessed it. They saw it not as a plague, but as a tool, a means of control, a weapon to wield against other enclaves. Their motives were chillingly simple: power. domination in a shattered world. They had become the new monsters, more terrifying than the mindless infected. Ava felt a cold fury rise within her. The betrayal was profound. Humanity, already on its knees, was now turning its most devastating creation upon itself. The soldiers tightened their grips on their weapons. The scientists recoiled, their faces pale. The enemy was not just a microscopic pathogen. It had a human face, a human mind, twisted by desperation, or perhaps by an inherent darkness. The mission had shifted from discovery to survival, and perhaps to a terrible confrontation. The rogue group was not a phantom. They were real, organized, ruthless. They defended their horrifying work with a fanaticism that brooked no argument. The encounter was inevitable, brutal. It was a clash not just of arms but of ideologies. One side fighting for a sliver of hope, for the memory of what was lost. The other fighting for a new dark order built on fear and the ultimate biological weapon. The dead zone became a battlefield, echoing with gunfire and the screams of the dying. Humanity's survival instinct, a powerful force. It had driven people to build walls, to scavenge, to endure. But here, in the dead zone, that instinct had curdled. It had twisted into something predatory, something selfish. The rogue faction believed they were ensuring their survival, their supremacy. But at what cost? They were willing to unleash hell on Earth again, just to sit atop the ashes. Had the struggle to survive stripped away the very essence of what it meant to be human? The ethical lines had long since blurred in this broken world, but this was a new abyss. To deliberately cultivate and unleash such a plague, it was a monstrous act, an unforgivable sin against whatever remained of their species. Ava watched the fighting, her heart heavy. She saw the desperation in the eyes of her comrades. She saw the cold, hard resolve in the eyes of their human adversaries. The virus was a mindless killer, but humans? They made choices. They chose this path. The question burned in Ava's mind, a question far more terrifying than any mutated virus. Was humanity itself the greater contagion? Had the apocalypse merely peeled back a veneer, revealing an inherent self-destructiveness? They had faced extinction from a pathogen. Now, they faced it from within, from their own kind. As the dust settled over the dead zone, the horrifying thought lingered. Perhaps humanity, in its darkest hour, did not deserve to survive after all. The reckoning was not just with a virus, it was with themselves.